a sold-out tour earlier this year, a new album called Orpheus Descending, of course, Farm Aid, September 23rd. John Mellencamp on 92.3 WTTS. But wait, there's more. He will be making a special appearance at the Colts kickoff concert on Friday with the Jim Irsay Band and featuring the Jim Irsay Collection, all those iconic guitars and other memorabilia from pop culture and American history. I have with me Larry Hall, Chairman and Chief Curator of the Jim Irsay Collection, here to talk about it. Larry, what a pleasure. Good morning.
Thank you, Matt. How are you today?
I'm doing great. So, I mean, the guitars and other things occur, of course, too, but so many great guitars. Bob Dylan's First Electric, the guitar from the Smells Like Teen Spirit video, Hendrix, McCartney. How do you choose what comes out for these special events?
Well, always, it's the Jim Irsay Collection. So Mr. Irsay totally steers it, but we've got a lot of input for other people. Myself, Mark and Eric Johnson help look after the guitars. Two great friends of mine. They're on retainer to help us with it. And we get feedback from other people that Jim are friends with, people in the band. But at the end of the day, if it's an iconic artist, we're interested, right? We want to at least hear about it. Not everything's a perfect fit for us, but we've seen a lot of cool guitars come down the road here. And even the last 5 years, it's my 40th season with the team, I'm happy to say, in the Irsay family. I did ticketing for 35 years, and I oversaw the collection now for the last 5, and we've really ramped up what we do. Custodial care is a big deal to me. We're really, we're going to do our best to take care of these artifacts. And at the end of the day, you may have heard a Guitar Magazine just January of last year. It was their last printed version, the 400th issue, and they said greatest guitars on earth inside the Jim Irsay collection. So pretty flattering, pretty high praise. It's the last issue they printed on paper. They still exist digitally, but a really cool feature was done on those just to kind of put in perspective what other people think too.
You dropped a name there, a couple of names, Mark and Eric Johnson. Are you talking about the Pop Machine guys?
The Pop Machine guys.
Yeah, I love those guys. I know those guys.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I didn't know they were looking after the guitars.
Yeah. So they help us. They obviously have full-time positions, but they manage to squeeze out some time for us to kind of help, make sure we're properly caring for them. I did hire a guy just a couple years ago named Jake Sheff, and Jake worked at the Indiana State Museum. He's an IU grad, but he also has a master's in museum studies. So he's got some technical abilities that other people in the group don't have. Jim Canary from IU Lilly Library right there in Bloomington is our paper preservationist, and he is arguably one of the greatest, if not the best in the world at that. So at the end of the day, I'm more than willing to admit when I don't know something to the nth degree, but I have people and have access. So we built this network to make sure that we're not only caretaking, but certainly curating. You talked about the idea of how we go out and look for different guitars, and Mr. Irsay's passion for rock music, American history, and pop culture is shown through these artifacts, right? And really, the main reason he gets them is not to keep them behind closed doors, but to share with the world. That's what we've got going on September 8th. Tickets are free. You need a ticket. Go to Colts.com to get them, or JimIrsayCollection.com to get them as well. And come see us on Friday night. Love to have everybody see things in person.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you mentioned that Mr. Irsay likes to have them out among the people, and I know that some of them are let out of the cases sometimes. Like Kenny Wayne Shepherd will play some of them on stage, like David Gilmour's Black Strat. But I'm sure that some of them have to stay under lock and key, 24/7, 365, even if they're on display. Do you have examples of ones that have to stay in the cases, and maybe interesting reasons why?
Sure. The one that comes to mind right off the top of my head. The term pre-war Martin for acoustics, right?
Yeah.
Well, usually people are talking about pre-World War II. We have a pre-Civil War Martin. This thing goes back to It goes back to the 1800s. So that thing that doesn't travel. It's very I don't want to say fragile, but it's certainly relative to the other guitars in the collection. It's a museum piece, right? It's not something that we would ever play. But unless I'm mistaken, it's the first X brace. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that to be true. In the end, we try to get a TLC here in town, but we've talked about making a trip, out to Pennsylvania and visiting with our friends from Martin and have them give it a little TLC as well. You mentioned Kenny Wayne Shepherd playing the Black Strat. He's also played Tiger. He played Tiger out in San Francisco, and people lost their mind, of course, because a lot of deadheads all around the world, but certainly San Francisco seems to be, if not the hub, one of the hubs. And I love Kenny for many reasons, but he was being interviewed. This thing I talked with you earlier about custodial care, Kenny said, someone said, should you really be playing those guitars? And he said, whoa, we're not painting over the Mona Lisa here, right? He goes, hey, I've got to play it the way it was set up. If it's the black Strat, just the way David Gilmour played it. We're not really changing anything on the guitar at all. And we want to make sure that people know that. Our whole goal, my whole goal, first protect, then preserve, then promote, right? Protect it first, preserve it, promote it. But some of them are certainly in much better shape than others. And the black Strat and Tiger are certainly two examples of that. Others aren't as great shape. We've got a cool Pete Townsend that he smashed and was put back together. And I had a cool exchange with his agent. I kind of just said, hey, look, before we acquire this, we're just making sure that this letter that says the guitar was Pete Townsend's and the guitar are actually, what they say they are. And I'm expecting it to take 2 or 3 weeks and an assistant get back to me. Hour and a half later, right, Bill Kirbishley is Townsend's agent. He says, I talked to Pete, and Pete said, and so I caught myself. I was like, wait, he reached out to Pete Townsend about it. And Pete says, it's definitely my letter. The body of the guitar is mine. I'm fairly sure that the neck is too, but the repair's not. It's god awful. So he wanted nothing to do with the repair because it just was kind of wonky. But that's kind of a cool story. That one, while it's probably playable, we wouldn't play that on a regular basis. There's others that are varying degrees, need some care, so to speak, but some of them are just pristine and beautiful. Even in that same music vein, 2 examples, the 2 pianos are both fabulous. There's a John Lennon piano from the 1870s.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible, right? So he used that in his home at Tittenhurst Park in Kenwood, 2 different homes he had. He wrote many of the songs from Sgt. Pepper's on that one. And it was made in the 1870s by a company named John Broadwood and Company and Sons. And they used to make pianos for Mozart and the royal family, right? So whenever you can name drop Mozart and the royal family in, you should do it.
Yeah.
And so that one, we don't tune it. It's definitely more of a, quote, traditional museum piece. On the other end of the scale, Elton John's piano is brilliant.
The Steinway?
It is bright, grand Steinway, 9 feet long. It's totally playable. He played it for 20 years. 1,083 concerts. It was lent to Freddie Mercury for a year for Day at the Races tour. It was taken from Lacquer Black to Lacquer White. Paul McCartney played in front of 1.9 billion TV viewers. Let It Be at Live Aid.
Live Aid,
so
yeah.
That thing, it's an amazing piece and one of my favorites. Arguably the Forrest Gump of pianos because of all these famous places. So
I love that. The Colts kickoff concert is this Friday, but it's sold out. Ask around, though. You never know. He is the chairman and chief curator of the Jim Irsay Collection, Larry Hall. This was so fun, Larry. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it very much. Thanks for having me on, Matt.